You may find in the early stages of this praying for people that you don't have a real high rate of people being healed. And you're thinking, this is not working. I don't know that I want to keep doing this. Part of the reason that happens is because I think we forget we're in warfare. We're in intense warfare. The enemy does not want you to do this. He does not want you here. He's not real happy you're here. Satan hates your guts. Got that? You're not just a bit of a bother to him. You're here learning things that are threatening to him, that are threatening to his kingdom. When you start talking about bringing people out of sickness into health, out of darkness into light, that's a declaration of war. And he's not real happy about that. So what you're going to run into as you pray for people, as you begin to move into this deeper and deeper, is opposition. And one of the first things that's going to happen is, typically, you pray for people and they may not get healed and you'll get discouraged and stop. That's the hope that he has. I'll stop you right up front. But if you press on and you keep after this and you expect things to happen and you keep going like a bulldog, you're going to begin to see people healed. And you're going to see more and more and more as you keep after it. So no, not everyone gets healed, but some do. Oftentimes we focus on those that aren't healed instead of those that are healed. I mean, I cannot even tell you the number of times I've been in a healing service, and let's say there are 10 people came up for prayer, and 9 of them were healed. And the one that they focus on was, well, what about that one who didn't get healed? Well, what about the other 9 that got healed? Well, let's talk about the one who didn't get healed. Hopefully, I'll discourage you from worrying and thinking about the other 9. Jesus healed all who came to him. There were special times when the power of God to heal was present. There were other times when it seemed like you had to really work for it. I mean, there are times when I'm in healing services, there are times when I'm praying with people, but it just seems so easy. And there are other times when it's just difficult. It's almost like the warfare increases. The intensity of the warfare increases. Did Jesus heal every single person he came across? I mean, if he stopped constantly and healed everybody who came around him, he would have never done anything else. I mean, when he went to the pool of Bethesda, which is like a hospital, how many people did he heal at the pool? 1 guy. Now, what do you suppose that is? I have a theory. I think it's because that's the one guy God sent him to pray for at that pool. People will ask me often, well, why don't we just go clear the hospitals out? Let's just go to the hospital and go from room to room and clear them out. Well, that's not what God directed me to do. He may send me to one up there, one in room so-and-so, but not to clear the whole place out. Part of this healing and learning how to heal is listening to God and listening to what God's doing and listening to what God's saying. Now, also, sometimes when we're in the healing ministry, one of the things I want to talk about just a bit is, as we're praying for people, what are some of the hindrances we're going to come across? What kind of things hinder or can hinder healing? I heard Francis say one time, we were talking about healing, we were at breakfast or lunch, I'm not sure when, and I was talking about all the questions I had about healing and all of the people I prayed for, and I didn't see anything happen, and I was asking why, and you know what his answer was? He said to me, Mike, he said, the greatest mystery about healing is we don't know what we're doing. Now think about that. It's coming from Francis McNutt. Pioneer in the healing ministry. We don't know what we're doing. We don't have a clue. That's the greatest mystery about healing. He said, we don't know what we're doing. There's a lot of this you're not going to have answers for. You're going to have a lot of questions, but there are no answers. There are no answers why some get healed and some don't get healed. I mean, I was in a conference in Green Lake, Wisconsin one time, and I had received a word for deafness. So 3 guys came up who were deaf. And they're standing there, and I went down the line and I prayed for them. And I prayed for the first guy who was totally healed instantly. I went to the second guy. I prayed for him, partially healed. I went to the third guy, prayed for him, nothing happened. Now, that's confusing. No, why this guy, total, partial, nothing? Secret sin. No, don't go there. I'm joking, really. Because I puzzled over that, and I have to get back to God is the healer. And now, if I had had a lot of time to spend with him, I may have understood some of what was going on. There could have been some inner healing issues, could have been some spiritual issues, emotional issues, I don't know. But a lot of that is tied together. A lot of physical healing and inner healing are tied together. I think Judith spoke on inner healing already. There's a lot of physical healing that is rooted in the need for inner healing. And you get to the root of it, and then you can get the physical taken care of. But let me get back to this topic. What are some of the hindrances? These can be hindrances to healing. Lack of faith can be a hindrance. Okay? But don't use that as an excuse. If you pray for someone and nothing happens, don't say to them, well, it's just because you just don't have enough faith. That's really not helpful. Some of you have probably had that said to you. Or maybe even said it. Maybe faith is the problem. And if it is a problem, God will know how to deal with that, with this person. But don't, I thought I turned this off. I'm so sorry. Do you have a ringtone like this? Oh, no, it's not God, it's Thomas. Don't say to people, well, you weren't healed because you just don't have enough faith. As I said, if that is a problem, there'll be a time and a way in which God will be able to deal with that. But don't say that to people. Could be a hindrance, but there's a way to deal with that if it is. The second thing that could be a hindrance to healing is unconfessed sin. That can hinder healing. But again, to say to a person, well, you didn't get healed because you have some secret sin you've not confessed. That's not real helpful either. And we're supposed to be encouraging people and building people up and helping people. That's not real helpful. If there is some sin that's blocking this, God can deal with that. I mean, I've been in a number of situations. I was in one place, I was in Northern Ireland. I was in Belfast in a Presbyterian church, and we were doing a healing service, and we had the teams all praying for people, and I had been praying for people, and I was pretty well finished. And I saw a guy sitting on the first row, and he had a walker with him, and he looked like he was in a lot of pain. So I walked over to him, and I said, tell me what's going on with you. And he said, well, I had an accident on the job, and I've been in excruciating pain 24/7 for the last 10 years. I said, 10 years? Yeah. I've lost my family. I've lost my home. Obviously lost my job. He said, I'm just barely coping. I'm in so much pain. I said, well, could I pray for you? He said, sure, yeah, go ahead. So I sit down next to him, put my hand on his back. I said, where's the pain? I put my hand on his back, and I prayed what I knew to pray, what I was hearing spirits say. And I stopped and I said, tell me what's going on. He said, well, it's still the same. Okay, let me pray some more. So I put my hand back there, and I'm waiting, and I'm really quiet, and I'm listening, and I hear the Lord say, he needs to forgive someone. That's what I heard. So how do you handle that? He needs to forgive someone. Do you say, well, the Lord just told me you need to forgive somebody? No, I didn't say that to him. I said, is there somebody you need to forgive? I asked him a question. Is there somebody you need to forgive? I put the ball in his court. I knew what I heard, but I said, is there somebody you need to forgive? And he dropped his head. He started crying. He said, yeah, there is. The guy that caused this accident. I'm so angry at him. I'm just so bitter and angry towards the guy that caused this accident. I said, do you think you can forgive him? Now think about this. 10 years of excruciating pain, 24/7. And he's holding on to this bitterness and anger. And his response was, yeah, I think I can. He said, I really don't have much choice, do I? I said, no, I don't think you do. So I walked him through a prayer of forgiveness, of letting this go, tears and all that sort of thing. Took about maybe 5 minutes. I said, how does it feel? He said, well, I think it feels okay. I said, well, you want to stand up and see? And he stood up. He stood up and he ran out of the church. And he was running around outside and he was yelling and jumping and laughing. He came running back in the church, picked me up, and he was dancing around with me. And I said, well, I guess you're healed, eh? So what was the problem? It wasn't just a physical problem. It was an emotional issue too. It was an unforgiveness issue. It was something that God wanted to deal with. And when he finally got that dealt with, then we could deal with the physical healing.